Salutations, utopians. Hope all is well in your world. Uh, I just had literally the craziest panic attack realizing I never put out an NBA draft recap video of what happened on June 28th. And that's literally my bread and butter. Free agency, drafts, trades. Those are that's my skill set, and I'm my primary area of focus. And I didn't even make a video, and so I want to recap now that the dust is settled and really discuss, especially too with free agency, really allows me to shed some light on certain teams that otherwise was a little bit unclear exactly what the psyche was, because sometimes teams will pass on a player to go after someone else who they had in mind in free agency. Any event, Landry Fields of the Atlanta Hawks was afforded the fortune of having the first overall pick in this year's draft. And three out of the top 10 draft picks were of France. France happens to be the most diverse country in Europe, and this year they were strongly represented. Uh, Landry Fields wasted no time in beginning the run on the mill on the Frenchmen's out there today, who actually played today. Um, so in any event, they went with a player by the name of Zachary Richeche. He's a 6'9" ish, between 6'8" to 6'10". Long story short, he Zachary reminds me a lot of Nicholas Batum. Lengthy, rangy guy, can do a little bit of everything. A very solid player, high IQ. They really are training them well out there on how to play basketball. Played a little bit of some G League basketball, I believe, as well. Played against some grown competition. It's still a bit of mystery, but he welcomed and stepped into the opportunity to being drafted number one. Some prospects, like the one I'm about to list next, with the Washington Wizards, straight away from being the first overall pick, Richeche stepped into it, did his workout. As you all know, the Atlanta Hawks right now are embarking on a rebuild. Just recently moving off of DeJounte Murray, getting Dylan Daniels of the Pelicans and some draft picks. Dylan is kind of like a bootleg DeJounte Murray to pair with Richeche, which is going to give them the chemistry and the comfortable feeling of at home. Because Dylan has played in Australia. There's that familiarity. Like I said, I believe they played for the G League Ignite. So there's some kind of chemistry and understanding, and will help make Richeche's transition a lot easier. He doesn't really speak English that fluent, so this is going to really allow him to have something familiar around him as he's going through this massive cultural adjustment. Speaking of first pick, Alexander Sarr was originally who everyone viewed as the top prospect. He kind of pulled a little bit of an Eli Manning, not wanting to go first overall. He's also from France. Possibly also could have done it because he wanted Richeche to have the moment. But he's going to a Washington Wizards team who does have a player that kind of slightly resembles his game, and Kyle Kuzma. I made a very in-depth two-part video of all the players who were in the green room invited and giving NBA comparisons quickly on their based on their film. Alexander Sarr, I didn't have the courage to draw the comparisons, but think of him as in a Chet Holmgren type. He's being favored right now for his defensive prowess. He's definitely per 36 checks enough of the boxes to where you feel encouraged that he can eventually blossom into a well orchestrated, well rounded scorer offensively, a very cerebral scorer. At the moment, though, he's primarily known for his defense, but defense wins championships. And the Washington Wizards furnished their front line even better, to a better degree, to my personal one of my personal favorite free agents in this year's draft, Jonas Valanciunas, formerly of the New Orleans Pelicans, 7'1" big man who can do a little bit of everything. If you like Brook Lopez. This guy is not too much far off that. Warrior from Lithuania, phenomenal big man in today's game who offers a very unique skill set. Pairing that next to Alex Sarr is going to really protect him from a lot of the nitty gritty physicality that you see certain big men last year, Bam Adebayo, Chet Holmgren, Anthony Davis, who got punished for being out of position. Luckily, year one, Alexander, at least so far, will not have to be subjected to that. Very big signing for the Wizards, by the way, with Jonas V. Knowing that they lost Daniel Gafford, it was a bit concerning how they were going to protect this young man because he's skinny as bones out there. But he has the potential to have that kind of KG-like impact. And I know a lot of people were trying to downplay this draft. There's a lot of guys who, even if they're not going to be superstars, are going to be key rotational pieces in this NBA for many years. I know a lot of people are already looking to 25, but don't get it misconstrued. There is guys who are going to have a long, healthy career in this league, and I think we're going to look back on this draft and realize that we underestimated it because we're too busy sold on wanting to find the next megastars when we all know, ironically, those are very few and far between. How you equip those how the role players are just as important as what the starters do, especially in the playoff time, as Shaq likes to refer to them as the others. So don't get it twisted. This is a very important draft. Next on the list for Houston, who had the 3rd overall pick, I found it a very interesting pick. Reed Sheppard of Kentucky, former Calipari disciple. The thing with Reed is this: he's a scrappy on-ball defender, can shoot the three-pointer above can shoot the long ball beyond a 40 percentile. He has 3-level capability, and he knows how to run an offense. As I explained several times, the league is going back to needing an actual floor general. These lengthy defenders who can close out, these lengthy athletic defenders who can close out, the Herb Jones, the Trey Murphys, right? The Derrick Jones Jr.'s who give you no time, PJ Washingtons who gave you no time if you were open for the 3, little to no time. It's going to require point guards to be on point and get the ball where it needs to be, especially and as we start to move off of these combo guards at the ones, the Dame Lillards, the Stephs, and we get back to traditional basketball where 3-level ball is being played, not just shooting the long ball like the NBA instituted for a better part of a decade during the Golden State Warriors run. Reed Sheppard shared duties with Rob Dillingham in Kentucky. I do believe sometimes he looks like John Stockton. Other times he looks just like no matter what you want, that's his ceiling. No matter what you want to call this guy, just know that Reed Sheppard is going to be special in the league. He's going to have a place. He could be TJ McConnell. People want to stress me about the fact that TJ McConnell doesn't shoot threes. Guess what? It doesn't matter. There's guys who do shoot threes and that I could compare Reed Sheppard to, but they won't amount to the impact that I believe Reed Sheppard can have in this league. And that's why I call him TJ McConnell, lower ceiling, who just got re-signed by the Indiana Pacers and who at times looked better than Tyrese Halliburton in the postseason, especially against Boston, and he was unguardable against the Knicks. 4th on the list was the San Antonio Spurs, and obviously, you know, the principal guy right now is Wemby. Greg Popovich is doing everything he can to situate him and get him ready to launch. Wemby already looked like a Defensive Player of the Year guy last year. They went and got a guy who comes from an elite program in UConn under Dan Hurley, who almost got the Lakers to budge on a blank check. And kind of looks like a young Greg Popovich, to be honest with you, even though demeanor is completely different. Stephon Castle was an interesting selection. I had him deemed to be a DeJounte Murray type, ironically. I have all the proof. You can check me out on Twitter, XGL8BAL_sports. I called Stephon Castle the next DeJounte Murray, similarities. And the thing is, with Stephon, high IQ, well-rounded player, but one problem I have is he doesn't shoot the 3 entirely well. I think he shot below 30% at UConn. That's going to be a big problem for me. He does a lot of things good, but he's not a freakish athlete, and you know what kind of league we're in. I think, obviously, you do got guys like Jalen Brunson, but Jalen Brunson has a very versatile arsenal. And so it was a little bit of a head scratcher. Now, to Stephon's credit, his father did play at Wake Forest, Tim Duncan's freshman year, so there's a little bit of family ties there. But ultimately, at the end of the day, Stephon Castle is in a position where I hope he has high IQ, so he'll know how to stay on the court. But at the end of the day, being able to be a threat from the three-point line is going to make or break his career in this league, because he's not the unguardable type. Murray's a little bit more explosive than he is, even though I think he's a little bit more in stature stronger, despite only weighing about 195, 200. Next pick was a bit of a head scratcher, but everything from Detroit has been a head scratcher this year. Ron Holland, and a freakishly explosive 6'8" guy, only guy I could really think of immediately who has the in-game capability of dunking while also having a little bit of floor general skills and being a premier on-ball defender was Dennis Smith Jr., who's having trouble getting on a court, but not from a lack of talent. It was a bit of a head scratcher. The Pistons already have problems with a lack of floor spacers. Brandon Stewart is starting to develop his three-pointer, but Azor Thompson, Cade Cunningham is a solid three-point shooter. I wouldn't necessarily call him ice money. I wouldn't call him money though. And then Jaden Ivey is not known for floor spacing either. They do have some role players in Detroit who might be able to solve that. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it was a little bit of a head scratcher, the selection for Ron Holland. I think he really needed to be put in a correct situation for him to have success. He's not an undeniable guy, especially with Azor Thompson. It just really becomes head scratching what they're going to do, what the plan is in Detroit. But just even the hiring of their head coach was even awkward timing. Bickerstaff, who I think who's a phenomenal coach, and I think if he can pull Detroit out of this mud, they're going to really be. He's going to really have to be reconsidered in terms of legacy coaches in this league because he's right now being put in a very difficult situation. Let's move along. Charlotte, Tijan Salan, that's the third of the top 10 Frenchmen. I think Tijan has shown possibility. He's a freakishly athletic guy. Sometimes he'll show flashes of Giannis out of triple threat. His three-point jumper is very, very unreliable. I know he shot above 30%, but I don't know how his three ball is going to look in the league. I called him Naz Reid ceiling to be courteous, but I'm going to be quite frank with you. I don't know how he made it to the NBA. He looks way too raw to me. That's another selection. I think that's the Eastern Central Division. Just a lot of sus draft picking going on. I believe the GM was formerly of the Brooklyn Nets. I just think I'm not impressed. Both teams are showing why they have struggled in the last couple years, and this did not help their cause. Very, very, very high ceiling, but also possibility of complete bust, high probability. High ceiling, low floor though. Floor is really low for him. Portland, Donovan Clingan. We all know that's the second of UConn guys drafted in the top 10. Great to see these U.S.-born players being drafted in the top 10 still, especially from the college level. Clingan is there, obviously, because they need to replace Nurkic, and we don't know what DeAndre Ayton has really left in the tank. Sometimes he just seems unserious. We obviously know him as a gamer, but Chauncey Billups needs some ball knowers in that locker room, quite frankly, and they know Clingan means business. Rim protector, I drew comparisons to him of Walker Kessler in Utah, who was on the Olympic team. I do think he can be impactful in a Rudy Gobert type of style, and Portland definitely doesn't have to worry about what he excels at. I'd like to see him expand on his offensive game. Portland has some young pieces, Anthony Simmons, who's been injured, Shaden Sharp. They got guys there who are capable of getting buckets. Clingan can do a lot of cleaning up. I'm not a big fan of their point guard from last year. I'm drawing a blank at the moment, but it will definitely make life easier because he is a pick setter out there. So we'll just leave it at that. The next one was the San Antonio Spurs, who had 2 picks in the top 10. Obviously, I just said that Stephon Castle was drafted 4th overall. Rob Dillingham, who was my personal favorite, and I practically called this around the time when he wasn't even considered a draft pick yet. No one really knew about him, and he flew up the draft boards as the tournament got closer with his flair and flashy style of ball. To me, he's really a can't miss, like a Ja Morant. When I watched him from day one, I've been following him lightly from high school, and then college solidified it. Even though he's coming off the bench, expect him to be a Kyrie Irving type of point guard who came off the bench in Duke, also similar, split the duties at least, and he'll be a better pro than he was college. Rob Dillingham is special, and they traded him away because they punted. They took a first from they took some draft consideration in 2030 from the Timberwolves, I guess in anticipation that maybe Anthony Edwards down the line when he leaves Minnesota, that will be a lottery pick. But I do think Rob Dillingham is already generational. I'll get to the guy they drafted in the second round, Juan Nunez. from Spain. This guy is a generational talent. He's got to think a little bit of Ricky Rubio, but he's 6'5". He can dribble with the best of them. He sees the play develop before. Pesky defender, streaky three-point shooter, but I have no question in my heart that he can be anything above 33, around 35%, give or take, from the long range. So he's got the handle to get wherever he wants. They had their mindset. I already know it. They knew they were going to take Juan Nunez in the second round, who I got a complete banger. I think like 40,000 visibility on Twitter X. They showed me love on that one. And so they were comfortable moving off Dillingham. Juan Nunez, a Spaniard, be on the lookout. He might not play this year. That's why they went for Chris Paul on a 1 year, 11 mil. But definitely expect to see that name next year. Him and Wemby are going to be poetry in motion. It's going to be a movie. That guy can make every pass in the book. He sees it happen before it happens. A streaky offensive guy who can go crazy though when he does, and he's going to fall in that lineage of Tony Parker, great all-time great point guards, Avery Johnson type, before it's all said and done. Moving along to Zach Edey, number 9 in Memphis. I like Zach Edey more than I like Clennigan. I think he deserved more respect in the draft coverage going into the draft. Obviously, Edey is going to a Memphis Grizzlies team who I think, when the dust settles, can be an NBA title contender. That's right, I said it. Top to bottom, they are completely loaded. Jackson, Bryant, Brandon Clark, they got a stable of big men. Edey, 3/4 shuttle, was just as fast as Alex Starr, was faster than Clennigan from UConn, and played the most minutes in NCAA history in a tournament. He played all but, I believe, 30 seconds. So the conditioning question you don't got to worry about. This guy is special. I don't know why he got treated the way he did. He does have to play in a system where he's going to have to share the ball a lot. I wish he would have went somewhere like Washington, where he could have been more of the primary focus. But with Ja Morant already being a bullet off that first step, and then his picks paired with that, and then the fact Jackson can shoot in floor space, it's going to be amazing. Memphis is going to be here for a long time, and they're going to cause a lot of headaches. Cody Williams from Colorado. This is like a 6'8" to 6'9". My problem with him is heart and motor. It kind of gives you Wiggins, Brandon Ingram, but he also can score like anybody else. So Brandon Ingram would be a fair comparison, Andrew Wiggins type. There's nothing he can't do on the court. I don't think he's quite as explosive as Wiggins, so I'll say more leaning towards Brandon Ingram, but he doesn't have quite the length that Ingram has either. Very smooth scorer, got relatively good coordination. Related to Jalen Williams from the OKC Thunder. This guy is special. He's going to a great program. You know, if Utah likes him, he's going to be special. When you pair that with Lauri Markkanen, that is one fluid duo. Walker Kessler setting picks for him. That's a special little unit they got there. John Collins is still there. I guess they're going to go forward with their point guard, Colin Sexton. And Keon George is still there. They're going to be special. They don't make mistakes. Utah might have gotten themselves their next Gordon Hayward, Donovan Mitchell for the next couple summers. This guy is 6'8", 6'9", and can get a bucket whenever he's like. Won't quite dare compare him to T-Mac, but Brandon Ingram is a fair comparison, who is capable of commanding $200 million in this offseason. He's been quiet as a church mouse. I don't know why, but that's a special dude, and I really enjoy seeing him go to an advantageous environment. Next selection is Matej Bucelis. Bucelis is an international product. Can't remember from Serbia. Forgive me. He played for the G League Ignite. Bucelis, if you like Cooper Flag, he's nothing short of that. He deserves more respect. I love his confidence. 3-level score, 6'10" guy, fluid movement, great ball handling skills. The only question for him is, what are his opportunities looking like with established scores like Kobe White, Zach LaVine, Vucevic. I think Vucevic might stay just to protect Bucelis. He's very thin, but at the same time, Bucelis has got a world of potential. And if you like Cooper Flag, who's anticipated to be going first overall next year, Bucelis is a steal for the Bulls right there. Congrats to them. I really love what they did right there. I never understood why they got rid of Lauri Markkanen, but this is their redemption season, okay? The next one at 12 was Oklahoma City Thunder drafting Nikola Topic of Serbia. Nikola injured he's got a knee that he keeps tweaking. But his game resembles Tony Parker. He's like a 6'5" Tony Parker. Everyone keeps comparing because he does so much damage from the mid-range in. He loves to get to the basket, physical, willing to take on contact. It's ironic that he goes to Oklahoma because he's got similar game to Shea, who I also tell people Shea Gilgeous reminds me of Tony Parker, a 6'5" Tony Parker. So they got basically a backcourt of Tony Parkers, long story short. I love what Oklahoma City did. Congrats to them. They got time to stash him. I don't think he'll play this year. But moving off Zach Edey, Josh Giddey, sending him to the Chicago Bulls, created room for a backup point guard eventually. Right now they got Caruso, who I'm sure will play both positions for them. Caruso is a high IQ guy. He just plays the game correctly. So though he's not maybe the guy who will always see a play develop before it happens, he definitely isn't missing anything, and he knows basketball. So they'll be able to hold it down until Nikola fully heals and returns next season. In any event, if he does make it in time for the playoffs, he could be a riser in the playoffs. He's not a guy who the moment's too big for him. Streaky shooter, but be on the lookout. He's a special talent, another deceptively good guy who they're going to regret later on clowning this draft class about potentially. Devin Carter, son of Anthony Carter, goes to the Sacramento Kings. Wasn't entirely too much of a fan of the pick. I like the player, but I don't like the franchise match. I know they need a backup for De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox has insinuated that he wants to be on a wait-and-see basis before he signs the contract extension. So what I gather from that is that perhaps Sacramento might be in trouble if they don't land something like a Markkanen, who I'm hearing they're very intrigued with. They need something more than just himself and Sabonis. And Keegan Murray seems like a guy who's content on being a fourth option. So they did an insurance policy. This guy is one of the more feistiest on-ball defenders in this league, is willing to shoot from 35. He's a wild guy out there. They had Davion Mitchell. They moved off him, clearing out ways for him. I know they got Keon Ellis and Malik Monk, who they just afforded an $80-something million contract, give or take. But still, at the end of the day, this guy is box office. And, and in case anything happens to Fox or Fox needs a breather, there won't be too much of a drop-off. This guy is a live wire. Congrats to the Kings, even though I'm not liking the match completely. Washington, with the 14th selection, takes Carlton Carrington, from Pittsburgh. And Carrington reminds me of C.J. McConnell. He's a very smooth scorer. C.J. Carrington is also known as Bub Carrington. That's what threw me off just now. He's as smooth as they get. Ironic that he was drafted by, I had him on you could check my page. I compared him to C.J. McCollum, and then later on he was drafted by Portland only to be rerouted to Washington. Washington gets themselves a very smooth three-level score, not entirely explosive, but if you're familiar with C.J. McCollum's game, it pretty much summarized this guy. He comes from that school of Kyrie, Uncle Drew / C.J. McCollum, so good luck with Washington. I like that selection. He can benefit a lot from, especially with Sarr already over there. That was a very smooth move by them. Khalil Ware, it's ironic Miami drafts this big man with the 15th selection out of Indiana because he reminds me of Chris Birdman Anderson, another pick that I had nailed on the money. It's amazing how electric this player is. He's above the rim. He's a live wire. And Miami got themselves the center they need to move out of back to power forward. Miami immediately moves themselves into playoff threats with this decision, and I think his impact could be similar to Derek Lively. 16, Jared McCain. This was another draft pick I nailed on the head. I compared him to Kyle Korver. Lo and behold, Philadelphia drafts him. Reminds you like a legendary Philadelphia player who played with Allen Iverson, Kyle Korver. McCain is a pure shooter, automatic jump shot, NBA day one ready, and he's going to, what I really like about this guy is he has won some of the most lucrative NIL deals coming out of college, and guess what? His youthfulness and his TikTok following is going to get Joel Embiid back to the Joel Embiid we knew from the Sam Hinkie Trust the Process era, where he was always making everyone laugh, extremely happy, vivacious, great product, great locker room guy. They're getting him back to that because he's getting older. He's a little more grumpier these days, had a lot of fallouts. Podcast P, it's great opportunity for McCain. I think he's going to blend in well. Philadelphia has a great tax credit program for film, from film enthusiasts, people who want to make movies. Seth Rogen has 3 movies filmed over there. He's going to make the most of his experience in Pennsylvania, in the city of brotherly love, and they desperately need a shooter. It just was a great pick all the way around. Congrats to the Philadelphia 76ers. They're a fine-tuned machine this offseason. They landed the biggest name on free agency. They got an immediate need plug-in player. I mean, what more can you ask for? They're doing everything they can. LA Lakers taking Dalton Knecht from Tennessee. Think bigger, stronger Austin Reeves, plain and simple. He reminds me, for those of you who don't know, for those of you who do watch hoops from back in the day, he's a Matt Harpring kind of guy. Physical, strong, plays on ball defense, 3-level scorer, just knows when and where he's supposed to be, knows how to attack. High IQ guy, day one ready, and could easily make a Hachimura expendable for the right trade. Congrats to the Lakers on that, getting J.J. Redick an NBA ready guy already. That's very wise. Tristan De Silva from the Orlando Magic. I'm gonna be honest with you, this offseason, I'm not too pleased with the Magic. It was an okay pick, but ultimately at the end of the day, the Magic had such a bad offseason, I don't even want to talk about them. The next pick, Jacoby Walter. He's a very fluid scorer, multi-level scorer. Only thing I didn't like, they acquired Davion Mitchell. So it kind of right after the draft from the Sacramento Kings, who's another explosive scorer. So I'm not going to cover too much about it. Obviously, they have to continue to improve their roster and filling out that 2-guard spot between Barrett and Quickly, who just both got contracts. Quickly, who just got his contract extensions. Kudos to him for 185. Same money around what Spicy P got in Indiana. They do need to stock up on the 2-guard spot, but I can only imagine Davion Mitchell will get his first dibs on that. Cleveland really pissed me off. You had Dayton's Day'Ron Howard right there. Day'Ron Holmes, excuse me, who, even though he's 6'9", Day'Ron Holmes is proof that size doesn't make the position. 6'9", but plays like he's 7 feet. And then you got guys who are 6'11", and could never dare think to play center like an Evan Mobley. So Day'Ron Holmes, knowing Cleveland's shortcomings, passed on the Dayton product who lived next door and went in a different direction. Jalen Tyson, a shooting guard, made no sense. You got Karis LeVert. It was a bonehead selection. I don't even want to talk about it. In New Orleans, Yves Missy. I guess they anticipated they were not going to re-up Jonas Valanciunas, so they went for Messi. He's from he played for Baylor, but he's a Caribbean player, and so he's every time he gets the ball, I think what he is he's a fully developed Jackson Hayes, extremely athletic, but has an extremely nasty, mean streak, wants to send the ball to the third row, wants to bang on your head every time he gets the ball. He's a ferocious Zion-like finisher around the rim, and he's going to bring a mean streak in a level of attentiveness and physicality that they were hoping to get from Jonas V and Jackson Hayes. I think they just wanted to hit the reset button. It really is Pelican Bay right now, defense-wise, for the New Orleans Pelicans. When you're talking DeJounte Murray, when you're talking about Herb Jones, who made second-team all-defense, Trey Murphy, lockdown specialist, and then Zion's shot blocking ability. It's crazy what they're thinking right now in New Orleans. Defense wins championship. Now to my next pick was the Day'Ron Holmes selection, Phoenix Scott. That speaks for itself. They're not going to wait on Jusuf Nurkic to get right anymore. They got a guy who they can fill in the blanks. I believe he was rerouted to Denver. I could be wrong. No. He went to Phoenix. They're not going to count on Jusuf Nurkic. Or also he could play power forward for all I know, which would be a great addition. I mean, he has got post moves like guys in the 90s. He can floor space. I'm a big fan, very physical and athletic. Congrats to the Suns on that one. That was a very quality selection. I did think it was quite interesting. They passed up on Isaiah Collier. Could be a Bronny thing because he did go to USC. I thought that was very interesting that they didn't get a point guard on their roster, and I still think to this day they don't have a point guard yet. Milwaukee Bucks draft A.J. Johnson. Moving along, Washington, Keyshawn George. This is a very smooth 6'8" scorer. I don't know how he fell this far, went to Miami, but when you think of him, Bub Carrington, they got themselves a little bootleg Oklahoma City Thunder, Washington. That was one of probably the greatest steals in this year's draft. He's a smooth operator, man. A little bit of Alpha Rico Mino, a little bit of Carmelo Anthony, young Melo in high school. This guy has all the skill set, all the moves in the palette. This is a very unique team that they formed this year in Washington. Got a lot of love for them. You know, I just, you know, they're a sleeper team. Watch out for Washington. They landed a big time free agent in Jonas V. They got Keyshawn George. This is a very, very sneakily good, deceptive team. They're going to be at least worth a watch, win, lose, or draw. New York getting Pacome Dadier. This is a very unique player, man. He's about 6'8", 6'9", 7 feet. Some have him listed as. Very smooth scorer from France. Another Frenchman. Going to be stashed away, but don't get it twisted. He's going to develop in a couple years down the line. Be ready. But right now he's a stash pick. The most interesting thing I thought about this was the fact that teams were crucifying the Knicks for drafting for trading for Mikal Bridges, giving up all that draft capital, and then they go and draft a stash player. Goes to show you no one fleeced the Knicks. They didn't want the picks. They've been punting on the picks. They could have kept Jalen Duran a couple years ago. They got enough big men. They got enough everything already. They got their own agenda, and the Knicks are going to be in the next 5 years a team to watch out for. Memphis and New York could definitely be dynasty eligible, and the Knicks have formed quietly this offseason an 0-4 Detroit Pistons like environment atmosphere. They are dangerous as any team in this league, and quite frankly I think there's only Memphis that can match up with the choices they've made. Boston does not put no fear in my heart at all. Oklahoma City getting Dylan Jones. Weber State, another small school guy, fits that. Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum, just straight hooper, not above the rim, not too crazy, just knows how to get a bucket. Great job for them. Oh, Sam Presti's not to be questioned. Minnesota got Terrence Shannon. Here's the interesting thing about Terrence Shannon. He ran into some legal troubles the way Jay Bilas explained it, and he could have been player of the year with Zach Edey had that not happened. Okay, wrongfully accused, got his name cleared, southpaw scorer. You pair him with Rob Dillingham, and Minnesota just retooled without having to spend no money. Tim Connolly is a straight-up genius, man. He's an immediate plug-and-play player. Watching him in that Timberwolves jersey as a swing man, 6'4", 6'7" guy. But I know Anthony Peeler was only 6'4", but for those of you who remember the Wolves, he's gonna be like that, man. He's gonna be special, man. He can get above the rim. He can score on the wings. It's gonna be amazing to see these guys next to Anthony Edwards. They really might have just got them. Who knows? The sky's the limit. He's definitely going to be a key rotational guy, but could even become something else down the line. Utah getting themselves another Colin Sexton, fitting the theme that people believe Colin Sexton is gone. It's just a matter of time. He wasn't a part of the New Jersey ceremony when the Jazz rebranded into new uniforms. Collier is a tenacious, never-ending battery type player, always ready to lock in and focus for the whole entire game. Teammate formerly of Bronny James. Congrats to Utah. They know they went and got themselves a can't miss prospect. In the event they got to make anything happen, especially since next year they're another team interested in the Cooper Flag with Brooklyn for the Cooper Flag sweepstakes. So that concludes the first round. I do want to bring up some names. Be on the lookout for Tyler Smith of Milwaukee. Also, Juan Nunez was drafted in the second round. I think he can be historically great. Jalen Wells had a funny moment. He chose the number 0. O Wells is going to be the way they reference him. Pelly Larson of the Miami Heat picked 44th overall, the first rookie to get some type of guaranteed in his contract. Consider to be on the lookout for him. He got a 4-year deal as a second round pick with multi-millions. I think it's 5 mil, 4-year. Was it a 3-year, $4.9 million deal, something of that nature? Multi-year deal, has guaranteed first season, second year partially guaranteed. I watched his tape from Arizona. I don't know how people were talking about Dalton Knecht and didn't speak up of him. Very interesting. The Clippers 2 picks later go after Cam Christie, brother of Lakers Max Christie, who just got a $32 million deal from Rob Pelinka in the Los Angeles Lakers. Cam Christie is actually more NBA ready than his brother. This is going to be a very exciting thing. Fitting that the Clippers go after him and one up what the Lakers are already doing. He's the more talented Christie in my book. All right, Utopians, I think for that pretty much sums up my 2024 NBA draft analysis. I hope you enjoyed this. I'll try to do better next time. Global out.